From the top of the program tonight, let me just say you are awesome. And we're glad that you stopped by Midwest Sports Net and college football this week. Thanks for being here. Join in, be a part of the community. We would really appreciate that. Also, let me just say this. NAIA football is finally here. We are less than 48 hours as of this stream from the kickoff of the NAIA football season for 2025, and we here at Midwest Sportsnet are totally here for that. We have a lot to talk about tonight on the show. It is a Tuesday show tonight as opposed to a Thursday show. We'll talk a little bit more about why later on. In the meantime, there are top 25 lists that are out. Coaches polls, media polls. We'll get to both of them. And let's go ahead also, as we have more than 40 games to talk about tonight. Week one is full. It is absolutely full in the NAIA, and so we'll just get to it. Let's talk about those top 25 preseason lists. Oh, and by the way, if you're watching the live show tonight especially, let us know from where you're watching. Tell us in the chat tonight from where you're watching and maybe who you're cheering for. Is one of those teams one of the top 25? Well, let's take a look really quickly from the NAIA, the coaches poll. This has come out. Top 25 preseason poll. This is from NAIA coaches. And the rankings look like this. Carroll coming in at number 25, St. Francis, Indiana. New head coach there for Coach Kevin Donnelly. We've talked about that. Marion, Southern Oregon, and Concordia. And then you get to the next part of the list there. Where do you see your team, or do you see your team in this portion of the list? Campbellsville, Dordt, OUAZ coming off that playoff spot last year. Southeastern just on the outside looking in at a playoff spot last year. Baker, Mid-America Nazarene, two there from the Heart South. Southwestern, Dickinson State, a new conference there for the Blue Hawks. Friends at number 12, and Montana Tech in at number 11. Top 10 in the coaches poll. Texas Wesleyan makes it into the top 10 after an undefeated regular season last year. Georgetown with new head coach John Perrin there. St. Thomas, Northwestern, Indiana Wesleyan, Montana Western, Benedictine, Morningside, Kaiser, and Grandview. And those were your four that were in the final rounds last year. Your four semifinalists from last year. That's who you're looking at as the top four this year coming back. Shout out to Jeff Rollstangs. It is just about time to cheer for Morningside, Jeff, and I know that you have a big game coming up on Saturday's show, so shout out there. Let's look at the media poll then as we move on along. This one presented by NAIF Ball, the folks over there at NAIF Ball. Corey, shout out to Corey in this one, and Matt, they talked about a lot of NAIA football yesterday. St. Francis, right around that same spot. Evangel in this top 25 list. Southeastern, Concordia, Southern Oregon, rounding that out. Shout out really quickly to Jordan. Thank you for watching tonight. Go Blue Raiders. And you all have a big-time matchup this weekend as well. So we're looking for that. Thanks for watching tonight. 2 days until game day for Marion. Another big game, a monumental matchup, if you will, Roger. So thank you for stopping by tonight. Sure do appreciate that. We continue on along with the media poll here, and you have a tie at number 19, Dordt and Campbellsville. OUAZ, Mid-America Nazarene down just a bit from the coaches poll. Dickinson State down a bit too. Southwestern, Marion, there you are, Roger. Marion coming in at number 14 at the NAIF ball poll. Baker, Texas Wesleyan outside the top 10 in this one. A tie in that number 10 spot between Georgetown and Montana Tech. Northwestern, Friends making it into the media poll at the number 8 spot there. St. Thomas, Kaiser all the way down to number 6 in the media poll. So the guys voting in that one, maybe not as high on the Seahawks as what the coaches are. We'll see how it all shakes out. Still in the top 6, and the top 6 are the same, a little bit different order. Montana Western, Indiana Wesleyan in at number 4, Benedictine up to number 3, Morningside at 2, and of course Grandview at the top of the poll. And I don't think there should be any surprise in that one. I think I've said on, I believe the Champion Sports Network a few years ago, you're number 1 till you're not. And unless you just absolutely lose everyone, which Grandview has not. I mean, yes, John Argo is gone, but there is so much back from that team. And even with the head coaching change, so many of the coaches back from last year's squad. Grandview, I think you have to be number one until you're not. 2 days away for some Mayville Comet action, Mayville State Comets. So appreciate you stopping by tonight, Casey. Thank you for watching and being a part of the community here as well. We welcome everyone into the community. Just please enjoy it. Let's talk some NAIA football, and let's go ahead and do just a little bit more about that right now. Let's go ahead and get into a full slate of games. Now, I apologize, guys. Graphics are at a minimum tonight. Just one of those things with an early week show, and we will be on the road on Thursday. We're going to be at Olathe for the first game of the season for Mid-America Nazarene. It's an out-of-conference matchup with Nelson, so that one should be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to being there for that. Have some great guests. By the way, I'll tell you again later on, but programming note on this one, we thought the show was going to start at 4. The game is actually starting at 7:30 now, so the live stream from Olathe will start at 5:30 on Thursday night. So that gives you time to stop as we visit with some folks from Mid-America Nazarene, including the athletic director and more. I think it's going to be a good show, and I encourage you to stop and watch that. Then after that, watch your favorite game, and a lot of you all have teams that are playing on Thursday night, so it should be a lot of fun there. All right. Let's look at this really quickly, and let's go ahead and start with Thursday games. 42 games on the docket for week 1, and it is a very full week 1, and we're excited about that too. So among those, I mentioned Nelson and Mid-America Nazarene. Let's go ahead and talk about that one right now. First meeting between these two schools, out-of-conference matchup there. For Nelson, Briley Green comes back in the quarterback spot. He'll be a senior. He was out for much of October last year. His best game was in the finale. That's against a Texas college team that really had a fantastic year last year. On the year, Briley Green with 1,222 yards passing. He had 2 passing touchdowns in that final game of the season against Mid-America Nazarene. Now, Coach Hudgens, in his second year, Coach Cordova, heading into his first season at the program, Mid-America Nazarene. Now, he has been one of the assistant coaches in the past. He's been elevated, so he takes over for Coach Hansen there. Among those coming back, Drew Miller, he'll be a junior this year. He's the only quarterback on the roster that has really any experience with Mid-America Nazarene. He was 10 for 13 passing for just 62 yards last year, had 1 passing touchdown. But all of that was behind Adrian Parsons. And Parsons owns so many records there in Olathe in the MNU record book. So Drew Miller may be getting his shot this year. Briley Green back for his senior season. First meeting between these two. This is going to be a 7:30 start. It's from the ODAC too, so keep that in mind if you're going to watch that game. It's going to be at the Olathe District Activity Center, and again, we'll be there on site for that one, and hope to give you some more video and reports live from the evening that night. Simpson at Southern Oregon. Second meeting all-time between these two schools. Of course, no surprise there because the Red Hawks have just started their program. Last season was year number 1. And in that first meeting between these two teams, it was all Raiders all the time. 70-7 was the final score there. That was last year. For Simpson, a couple of quarterbacks that are still in the hunt to step in and take over. Caleb Anderson, who was the quarterback last year, he's a junior. He's been there since the inception of the program. And he had the upper hand going into the summer, according to Coach Daniel. He could be the one they're looking at right now. Also, intel from Simpson camp could be John Romero. Romero is a grad student who is originally from California. He played all the way on the other side of the country in Findlay, coming back as a grad student to have an opportunity there at Simpson. So it could be either one of those. We do have word now from Southern Oregon who the starting quarterback's going to be. That's going to be Dom Montiel, a junior quarterback for Southern Oregon. Coos Bay native there, as he transferred in, by the way, from Oregon State. Spent 3 years in Corvallis, and so he's going to be a part of the program now. He's also named one of the 4 captains for Southern Oregon this year. Another one of those 4 captains is someone who I'm sure is going to be thrilled to be back on the field. Spencer Cuffle coming back from injury. The defensive back had 6 interceptions in 2023. He was out last year with an injury. He is also one of the captains. And, of course, we're talking about Southern Oregon, so we can't not talk about Gunnar Yates. There's just absolutely no way. 1,488 yards rushing last year to lead the NAIA, 27 rushing touchdowns on the year. Those are both single season records for Southern Oregon. Really no surprise with numbers like that at all. So that's a big matchup. It's going to take place at Southern Oregon. It's the first of two matchups between these two schools in the Frontier Conference West. And it's just one of those things to help with scheduling. For the Frontier Conference, which includes North Star teams from previous years, neither one or none, I guess, of all these teams necessarily has to double up in scheduling now. They don't have to. The Frontier Conference is 14 teams. I don't think it's going to be that way 5 years from now. I think it could be 15 or 16 5 years from now. Neither here nor there. In 2025, it's 14 teams. And so you don't have to double up necessarily, but to help with some scheduling, and especially in the new look for the conference this year, and also travel-wise. I mean, Simpson and Southern Oregon, that seems to be a given there. If you want to get one more game on the schedule and you want it to really round things out and you don't have to travel too far, because the Frontier Conference takes up a lot of space in the West and the Northwest and the Northern Great Plains area. So, yeah, put that one on the schedule. All right, we've two games down now. I need to get on the horse and go. Point at Faulkner. That's also a Thursday night game. We're talking about games now on Thursday, August 28th. Faulkner, 7-0 all time against Point, and the Eagles won 20-17 last season. It was also the last game that Faulkner won last season. For these two teams, realistically, I mean, you're looking at the head coach debut for both teams. Nigel Lawrence for Point, Dane Brown for Faulkner. I'm looking forward to seeing how this game shakes out. And I think it does go a long way for the trajectory of both these teams, even after week one. For new head coaches coming in, I think it's going to say a lot. So you definitely want to go in and get the win. For Point, 4-7 in 2024, 4-7 in 2023, 4-7 in 2022. Now, don't be fooled. They had a chance. There was an outside chance of making the playoffs last year. Even with that record, could have gotten in a weird way at 5-6. It didn't turn out that way. Pikeville got that playoff spot from the Appalachian Conference, but Point right there around 4-7. So for Coach Lawrence, you definitely want to get the team back to at least 4-7, but I know there's just a lot of turnaround that'll need to be taking place there for Point, for Coach Lawrence, and for Coach Brown. Really interested to see what he does with the program there at Faulkner. Cumberland's at Union Commonwealth, also a Thursday game. 39th meeting between the two. Cumberland's has won 27 of the previous 38 and won 28-0 last year in that game. Cumberland's brings back Drew Gregg, a grad student once again. 2024, he passed for touchdowns. He rushed for touchdowns. He also had a receiving touchdown for Cumberland's last year. For Union, it is the debut of Boston Bryant as the head coach there. So we'll see about that game and how it shakes out. For Valley City State and Dickinson State, Frontier Conference mates, as they were conference mates once before, and really, they've known each other for a long time. How about this? 92nd meeting between the two schools. That's an unofficial number right there. 52, 34, and 5 all-time. Dickinson State with the lead. 5 ties between these two schools. Dickinson State won 19-6 and 42-24 last season. They're going to play each other twice in 2025. Again, nice scheduling matchup there, out-of-conference game. This isn't going to affect them in the Frontier Conference East at all. For Valley City State, the Vikings are replacing Noah Chambers from last year, and the man of the hour, it's going to be Joey Cave, Division II transfer stepping in. He is taking over the QB1 spot. He transferred in from Division II New Mexico Highlands, and he can throw the ball. He can also run the ball. He's a dual threat there, so we'll see how this plays out. Another team replacing a quarterback and really one of the leading not running backs, but in Avery Thorsgaard, a leader with the ground game. Well, Dickinson State doing the same thing, replacing Will Madler at the quarterback spot, replacing Braden Zuroff in that running back spot. We'll see who Coach Stanton brings out to take the lead there. This one is I think it's a big early matchup, and I don't think it's getting as much national attention maybe as it should, because these two schools really, with the in-state rivalry there, this is pretty tight. It's going to be another conference rivalry as well, so keep that one in mind. Judson, at Mayville State. Could be a long night. Need to go ahead and drink some more water. Judson at Mayville State, the Sean Flynn debut in the head coaching spot for the Judson Eagles. And I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to seeing the offense for this team. Coach Flynn, known for what he does and how he shakes things up on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this works. Will the Comets be able to take care of things on defense now? Matt Donovan is going to be the starting quarterback for Mayville State, a redshirt sophomore who transferred in from Minot State, which is actually a little bit closer to home for him. Donovan, originally from La Crescent, Minnesota, which is in the southeastern portion of the state there in Minnesota. Mayville, close to that Minnesota line there on the eastern part of the state. Minot, definitely not. So this is going to bring him a little bit closer to home. And he has the D2 tie there from Minot State, but also redshirted for a season. And I know, cup of coffee at Bemidji State as well, too. Playing in the NAIA now, Donovan has been named the starting quarterback for the Comets now. That is the first meeting, by the way, between Judson and Mayville State. That's going to be a Thursday night game. The Copper game coming to us from Montana Western and Montana Tech. 120th meeting between these two schools, and Hinchman 21 gave me a little bit of information about this too. Unofficially, 60, 58, and 1 all-time. Montana Tech with a very, very slight edge, but Montana Western won 27-21 last year. It's the Copper game now. We know that Montana Western is going to bring Michael Palandri to the table. We know that Montana Western is going to bring Eli Norse to the table. What we didn't know is who Montana Tech was going to bring to the table in that quarterback spot, and we still don't know. Coach Sampson in the two deep for this week has the ever popular this player or this player. So we don't have a definite 1-2 in the two deep, either one or the other one. And it has come down to Jarrett Wilson and Jake Casagranda. Hope I said that right. That's the little bit of a Texas feel with that. Casagranda there. Casagranda, who is from the class of 2023, graduated high school in 2023, played AA ball in Montana, and his senior year had 2,743 passing yards. Again, thank you, Hinchman, for some information on these ore diggers. Jarrett Wilson, also high school class of 2023, played in Class A there in Montana. And get these numbers, too. Career passing yards, 8,812 career passing yards in his high school career. And then total yards, he was able to run the ball as well, 11,030 total yards. So some pretty big numbers there. One or the other, it's going to be Casagranda or Wilson to take the helm on Thursday night in the Copper game, which, by the way, is really pretty cool for Montana Tech. Basically, what it means is that's when they wear their copper uniforms. So if you are an Ore Diggers fan, and I know that some of you are, it's a little bit far away here, but I think I'd wear some Ore Digger swag if I had some. Copper game means come on out in the copper. Now, I realize the colors are copper, and it's a greenish, I don't know, Hinchman's going to have to tell me the official green that it is. Is it a Kelly? It looks a little darker than Kelly green and white. So this one, the Ore Diggers are going to be wearing copper. And again, Wilson or Casagranda at the helm. All right. Really quick shout out, by the way, to Dave. Thank you for watching tonight. Another Roll Stangs in the chat. And I know you are less than 48 hours. No, you're less than 96 hours, I guess, away from a big time game in Atchison, Kansas. So that one should be a lot of fun. We'll talk about that one a little bit later on. Still on Thursday games. First meeting ever between Midland and UMary from North Dakota. UMary is a Division II school in the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference. They're picked 12th out of 14 teams in the preseason ranking there, ahead of Jamestown, the NAIA, formerly NAIA team, making the move up to Division II, picked 14th in the league this year. UMary picked number 12. How about Midland, though? The Warriors, get these numbers under Coach Jeff Jamrog, 9 consecutive winning seasons. And I think in recent years, sometimes Midland gets to be maybe not getting the attention that the Warriors should be getting for these winning seasons. 9 consecutive winning seasons, and all of them have come under Jeff Jamrog. The Warriors were 1-10 prior to his arrival, and it's been a winning season every year since that time. Now, granted, when you're in the same conference with Morningside and you're in the same conference with Northwestern, and Dordt in recent years has really stepped up, and Concordia has really stepped up, sometimes it's a challenge to get past those teams. I think you can't sleep on Midland. Don't sleep on Midland. And by the way, this is an NAI Division II matchup, and I don't know that I'm necessarily picking games tonight, but if I were to pick a game tonight, I'd have to go with Midland getting what I'm not even going to say is an upset over UMary. So watch out with that one and keep that in mind. All right, let's see. We were talking a little bit about Montana Western just a little bit earlier. And, Dave, I got your second chat first. Very impressed with Palandry, Norse, and company last year. Yeah, you had a chance to see those guys last year, and they were good last year, and I think they're going to be good again this year as well. And Midland's defense, very good last year. I'm looking forward to see who steps up, who's going to be leading the charge on offense, but Midland's defense is going to be good, and I am getting a little bit of intel that this is a team that can run the ball this year too. So we'll see how that one plays out. So that's Midland at UMary, making the trip up to North Dakota for this one. Here we go. Thursday meeting, William Penn at William Wood. Second meeting all time. William Penn won last year 59-0 in William Wood's first ever game in 2024. Coach Benavidez, really, I believe it's become now his team. He's been there for a little while now, and we're going to start to see a little bit more of his players and what he does. This is a team that could prove to be a challenge for some of those who've been picked a little bit higher in the Heart North, so keep that in mind. For William Woods, second year, second head coach. Sam Camp making his debut for William Woods in this one, and this one's taking place in Fulton. The monumental matchup. And I know, Roger, you're going to be watching this one. I'm sure you are. I'd be curious. Are you going to this one, Roger? Please let us know if you're going to be there for the UIndy at Marion game. Both these two teams from Indianapolis. UIndy, a Division II team. And by the way, this is a team that has really, it's dominated in its time in the Great Lakes Valley Conference, has made it to the playoffs 3 consecutive years, third straight playoff appearance in 2024, the favorite to win the Great Lakes Valley Conference once again in 2025. Really no surprise there at all. This is the third meeting between these two schools, but they have not played in 9 years. In 2015, Marion won 28-22. In 2016, Marion won 38-16 over UIndy. The NAI team winning both times. This one should be a really solid matchup, a very good matchup between these two schools. I think this one's going to be tough. And Roger, I'd love to hear your take on that one as well. Keegan LaBelle coming back from Marion, one of my picks to have one of the best rushing years for any NAI player this season. Last season, 1,168 rushing yards. That was 6th in the NAIA. He had 17 rushing touchdowns and 5.6 yards per carry. That was Keegan LaBelle last year. So still on Thursday night games, Olivet Nazarene at Taylor, 26th meeting between the two. Taylor with an 18-7 all-time lead in the series and won 58-51 last year, an offensive explosion between the two schools. Avant Mitchell, in his first season at the program last year. It's year 2, and this is a Tiger program that has won or had winning seasons in 8 consecutive years. So Coach Mitchell did nothing to change that in his first season with the program. So trying to improve that. And you want to talk about a team that made improvements last year. There was none better than Taylor under Coach Mingo. 2-9 in 2023, 9-2 in 2024. But Taylor has to replace a big amount of the offense with the loss or graduation, the expending of the eligibility. I guess that's a great way to say that for Jamison Chesser. Used up all his eligibility last year. He really led the way on the ground, and we expected it coming in. And then when it happened, it was really no surprise. But I think that was a big key in what Taylor did last year, because offensively they were able to make things happen. The big thing for Taylor last year, and maybe it accounts for one more win or one more loss, is if the quarterbacks stay healthy. And that's the key this year. So keep the quarterbacks healthy, and we'll see how this turns out for Coach Mingo. Taylor right up there near the top. Obviously, Indiana Wesleyan is going to be picked, I think, in just about any preseason ranking to be at the top of the Mideast, but Taylor has to be up there close. And finally, Arkansas Baptist at Houston Christian. This is one of 12 games now on Thursday night here in week 1 in the NAIA. Second meeting all time between these two schools. Houston Christian is a Division I program. Arkansas Baptist is an NAIA program. So this is it's one of those games you schedule. Houston Christian won the only meeting between the two, 66-0. That was 2 years ago in 2023. And if you are thinking, wow, Houston Christian, that sounds a little bit familiar, it should be if you've been following part of the coaching carousel this summer. We know there are 19 head coaches that will be coaching at their program for the first time in 2025. One of the coaches leaving was Coach Mike Nesbitt, who had been with OUAZ since the outset, and he is now the new offensive coordinator at Houston Christian. So taking on Arkansas Baptist. And consider this, by the way, if you're thinking about this game, Mike Nesbitt at OUAZ put up 80 spots on Arkansas Baptist in each of the previous previous meetings that OUAZ had with Arkansas Baptist. It was 85-12 last year. It was 83-0 in 2023. And think about this, as the offensive coordinator who put up 165 points against Arkansas Baptist in 2 previous years, now he has Division I players at his disposal. I'm just saying it's a favorable matchup for Houston Christian in this one, but don't count them out. That's why we play the games. Saturday games on the way. Let me say really quickly, thank you for watching Midwest Sports Net tonight. And I want to give a shout out to everyone. If you haven't already, let us know in the chat from where you're watching. Please do, and let us know for whom you're going to be cheering this week. Thursday games and Saturday games for the NAIA in week 1, and it's going to be all kinds of fun. Saturday, August 30th. Oh, and by the way, if you have not already subscribed to the channel, I encourage you, please do that. We've nearly met our goal for subscribers for the month of August, and then we have a really big goal set up for 2025 and to get through the end of this year. And so I just encourage everyone, please subscribe to the channel and maybe tell a friend, because we are enjoying growing this channel and we like talking about small college sports and more throughout the Midwest and beyond. All right, we had a couple of roll stangs in the chat already, and I appreciate Jeff and Dave giving the roll stangs. So we have to start with this one. Morningside at Benedictine. 4th meeting all time between these two schools. Morningside leads 2-1. Now, each team won on the road in the previous 2 years. Love this out-of-conference matchup. We've talked about it many, many times here on the channel. We're not going to go on that too much more. It was an offensive outburst last year, 48-45, as Benedictine won in Sioux City by a field goal. In 2023, more of the defense, as Morningside won 2017 in Atchison by a field goal. Morningside also won 35-28 in the 2018 National Championship, a matchup between these two programs. They were both semifinalists in last year's NAIA Football Championship Series. So with these two teams, I think you have to talk about the offense first. And for Morningside, Zach Chevalier, 350 of 527 passing last year, 66.6%. I don't like that 666 number, so it's got to throw another pass sometime soon. Anyway, 4,682 yards passing, 45 touchdowns. Found Drew Selland many, many times last year, the junior receiver with 120 receptions on the year, 1,813 yards receiving, 17 receiving touchdowns last year. You look then at Benedictine, and how about the numbers from Jackson Dooley? 266 of 444 passing last year for 4,153 yards. He threw for 39 touchdown passes last year and a 58.6% completion percentage. Wow. Between these two, 8,835 yards passing. Between these two, 84 touchdown passes thrown. I mean, this is just an incredible offense. So is the defense going to step up? Is it going to be an offensive outburst like last year with 93 points put up on the board? Or will the defense step up? And I think for Morningside's offense, as we always talk about the offense for the Mustangs, it deserves the recognition that we give it. Sometimes we don't talk about the defense as much. I know I'm probably guilty of that here on this channel as well. But can the defense step up? I think for Benedictine, there are a couple things also that you take away from this. Number one is if the Ravens are able to get this early season victory, first, I think it's going to take a Herculean defensive effort, because to stop the Morningside Mustang offense that's a difficult challenge for anybody. Now, I say that they didn't win the national championship last year, so obviously it was at least slowed down. But you've got the summer to build up, rested, ready. Mustangs on offense, strong push through the air, good ground game as well. For Benedictine to win, number one, it's going to take a huge defensive effort, and number two, if Dooley is able to lead this offense past what Morningside presents on defense, a very underrated defense, even with what they do, I think you have to put Dooley in as a front runner for NAIA Player of the Year. We're not giving him the award yet or anything like that, but if Benedictine comes away with a victory in this game, you've got to put Dooley up there near the top. And again, if Morningside comes away, you probably have 4 Mustangs that you could have in the running for that category as well. We'll see how it plays out. That one should be a lot of fun. It's an afternoon game. That is on Saturday from Atchison, Kansas. Keep that in mind. Another big game, big matchup. Kaiser at Indiana Wesleyan. Kaiser's first trip to the state of Indiana, first meeting between the two schools. Kaiser 9-0 last year in the regular season, 3-1 in the playoffs. Coach Miles Russ remains undefeated in the regular season. After his first year of coaching, Shea Spencer is the starter. Coach Russ has said he has enjoyed some competition at camp, though, but he is still the starter coming in. And Jaden Miller and Rico Portia, I believe, make up a bit of a triplets feel for Kaiser coming back. Got the love in the coaches poll. Didn't quite get as much love in the media poll. We'll see how that plays out. Indiana Wesleyan. Arjun Lothi is going to be the starter at quarterback, and he steps in. Last year, he saw a little bit of time. 57 of 80 passing, 770 passing yards, threw for 8 touchdowns, and had a 71% completion mark. Now, those are pretty good numbers, especially if you consider coming in. I mean, he steps in for Kyle Antoine last year. Usually in a situation like that, when Indiana Wesleyan has a lead, you pull your starters and you allow some other players to come in. Lothi completed 71% of his passes to what was likely the twos that were out there at the time as well. So keep that in mind. He was a 3,000-yard passer his senior season at Indian Creek High School in Indiana. Anytime you've got someone who's throwing for 3,000 yards in a season, you know that he's somebody who can step up. Also had a stint at Division III Hanover College, 4 games there, didn't see much time on the field. And he has at his disposal someone who can catch the ball pretty well, Isaac Smith, the Mid-States, Mid-East Offensive Player of the Year. So you again, just like the previous game, Morningside and Benedictine, you could see an offensive explosion in this game as well. We'll see if the defenses are there. I'm curious to hear in chat. Let me know what you think about this one too. Which side of the ball do you think has the upper hand in game one? I mean, for any team, whether it be Morningside Benedictine, whether it be Indiana Wesleyan Kaiser, or just, fill in the blank here, you've got teams that have had all summer long to rest, prepare. Have they broken in the new offense yet? If it's a new offensive coordinator, have they been able to get the defensive schemes and everyone knows their assignments on defense? Which team, which side of the ball do you think has the upper hand? Love to hear from the chat on that one. UPike at Georgetown. This one's a big one. 23rd meeting between the two. Georgetown leads in this series 20-2 all time, winning 23-20 last season. Georgetown's won 5 straight in the series. We know that Garrick Slunaker is going to do Garrick Slunaker things, and that's not the first time I've said that here on the channel. It will not be the last time, I'm sure, I say that on the channel. And bringing back Darius Neal, how much better can you set things up for Coach John Perrin coming in to his first season as the head coach of the program? He's going to have to go up against a tough offense, which will be led by Amon Williams, coming back for his sophomore year after a fantastic job last season. UPike making the playoffs last year, there were folks who didn't necessarily agree with that, them coming in with a 5-5 record. I totally agree with it. They did what they were asked to do. They won their conference, hands down. They did what the rules said do, and they did it. Love the rules, by the way. The automatic qualifier coming from the conference championship or champion, and still can't say enough good things about the NAIA and some of the rule changes heading into 2025, and that the coaches polls, the rankings, those rankings don't mean anything toward the selection of the playoff teams, that field of 20, which is coming in a little bit later on. So this one should be interesting. But for UPike, you need to win this game. It's just like what we've said about Campbellsville. I picked Campbellsville to take the Mid-South, Georgetown being right there. I've also been on record as saying if Campbellsville wins and Georgetown is not the winner of the Mid-South, I still think Georgetown will make the playoffs. They'll get in as an at-large. That having been said, you have to beat Georgetown, and teams just aren't doing it. So that's one of the reasons the Tigers just continue to roll like that. Texas Wesleyan at Lindsey Wilson. Second meeting all time between the schools, and last year was a 34-24 victory for Texas Wesleyan at home, which led to them running the table in the regular season. Carson Rogers back at quarterback for Texas Wesleyan. I'm going to slow down. Okay, I'm trying to get this through quickly, and I want to hit all these games, and I think that either my mouth is ahead of my brain, or my brain is like 2 or 3 games down the list, and we'll slow down. The newly minted Lindsey Wilson University, I like that name, LWU. They have Pryor Lamb back at quarterback for this year. He'll have some new pieces around him in the backfield, but he's been named one of the captains for the Blue Raiders this year. So, Jordan, I hope you're happy with all that Lindsey Wilson has. And let me ask you this, Jordan, if you're close enough, are you going to go watch that game, Lindsey Wilson there in Columbia? Texas Wesleyan at Lindsey Wilson. If the Blue Raiders win this game, is this a jumping on point, and do they do the same thing that Texas Wesleyan did last year in running the table? Thomas at Bluefield, second meeting all time between the two schools. Bluefield won 35-17 in 2024. Thomas with a new head coach, Vincent Davis stepping in to make his debut. Dewey Lusk has been with the program at Bluefield for a long time, 9 seasons there. He won't have Nathan Hurstich as his quarterback this year, and Hurstich has done a fantastic job as quarterback for the Rams, but it's not like he's leaving. Hurstich is stepping off the field and onto the sidelines for Bluefield, and he'll be the quarterbacks and wide receivers coach for Bluefield this year. I think that's incredibly cool. By the way, Bluefield has a unique situation with the coaching staff there. 2 father and son duos in the same coaching staff, Dewey and Gil Lusk, Michael and Matt Ketchum. So I think that's really pretty cool. All right, Jordan, going to be there. Send us some pictures. Send us some video. Let us know you were there. I mean, I'm not going to say pictures or it doesn't count, but yeah, we'd love to have some video. We'd love to have some pictures from Lindsey Wilson and Texas Wesleyan. Let us know about that one. All right. Have fun on that one too. Should be a lot of fun. South Carolina Central Christian, a USCAA program taking on an NAIA program in Kentucky Christian. Second meeting all time between the two. Kentucky Christian won 35-12 in 2024. And there'll be a new quarterback for Kentucky Christian. Jet Engel moved on to a different program, stayed in the NAIA, just moved conferences. The new quarterback could be one of two or three players. I think there are two that have really stepped up, and we may see both of those players in this game. Sophomore Jackson Wasick, who is a transfer in, and Slater Hickman, a junior, who is also a transfer in. And Coach Jason Aubrey has a lot at his disposal in that quarterback room. There have been a number of players that have quality quarterbacks that have made their way into the Kentucky Christian program. And so it could be one of those things. Both of them see some action on Saturday, and then we know a little bit more about who might be the QB1 for the remainder of the season. I think things are looking up for Kentucky Christian, and I think this is a favorable matchup for the Knights. But having said that, I think you should watch Kentucky Christian closely as the season progresses. I know that the numbers in the win column haven't been there in recent years. That's something that could be changing, so just be on the lookout for that. Florida Memorial at Reinhardt, first meeting between the two for Michael Jones, his head coaching debut. And for Reinhardt, 7-4 in 2024. This is the first game of a challenging pre-conference schedule, so keep that in mind. The Lions coming into Reinhardt here, this is not going to be an easy contest, I don't think, for the Eagles, and we'll see what happens there and how Reinhardt comes out of this one. Defiance and Rio Grande, first meeting between the two schools. Well, obviously, it's Rio Grande's first ever game, and they get it as a home game. For Coach Bill Nickel for Defiance, I mean, since he's been there, there was one win for the Yellow Jackets prior to his arrival, 3 wins, 4 wins, and 4 wins in each of his first 3 years of the program. So he has things heading the right direction. It's not the first season in the NAIA for Defiance. That was last year, but this is really the first NAIA schedule. Last year's schedule was a bit of a hybrid, and there were so many Division III games to honor contracts and to really get into the NAIA properly. This will go, I think, a long way toward seeing more of what Defiance really is as an NAIA program. For Coach Mark Thurston, it's his head coaching debut. Again, first game for Rio Grande and the Red Storm. I think that it looks like for Coach Thurston, he's going to stay on as the defensive coordinator too. Originally hired to be the defensive coordinator there, and there was a parting of ways between Rio Storm and the original head coach in Coach Wilson. Coach Thurston takes over, but I think he's keeping that defensive coordinator hat, so we'll keep that in mind. Carroll at MSU Northern as the Saints make the trip to Havre. It's the 61st meeting between these two schools, and Carroll owns a commanding 53-7 lead all time, winning 43-12 in 2024. The Saints have won 9 straight, and Coach Purcell talked this summer about having, he had a number of horses in the stable there that were looking to step in and take over for Jack Perka. It looks like the starter has been named. It's Caden Hewitt, a 6'4" quarterback, junior quarterback, and he played his high school ball at Helena High right there, threw for more than 7,000 yards in his time there. Well, he kind of stayed around the Helena area, went to the University of Montana, was a Grizzly, and he's a D1 transfer now. So he makes his way back to Carroll. This one should be fun. Northern, for Coach Sowers, there are a number of younger players, number of underclassmen on this offense that are looking to have opportunities in the 2 deep. And among those, a redshirt freshman listed as a redshirt freshman, Roman Bradley, a Division I transfer, 5'10", 220 pounds, listed as a fullback in his previous school. So he's somebody that could make some noise and be somebody that could be a real catalyst for that ground game for MSU Northern. So the Saints, I think they're going to have to defend the running game quite well, but we'll see how this turns out. Again, 61st meeting between the two schools. Eastern Oregon at College of Idaho. A couple of Frontier West opponents not playing a Frontier Conference West game. This is just an early season schedule and an opportunity for teams to get another game in. 54th meeting between the two. College of Idaho leading in the series 39-13 with one tie. However, Eastern Oregon won 30-24 in 2024. The EOU squad doesn't have Quincy Glasper on the field anymore. Instead, the former quarterback is going to be on the staff. Excuse me. I'm looking forward to a lot of football talk this week. For College of Idaho, the quarterback has been named. Caden Young stepped in the final week of the season for Andy Peters when he got hurt last year. Andy Peters has moved on to the Division II ranks, and Caden Young is stepping into the QB1 spot. So he's the man for 2025. That's what that looks like there. And we'll see how this plays out for Eastern Oregon. Second cough drop of the new season. I don't know if Vegas has a line on that. I guess we'll find out. The Chamber of Commerce Traveling Trophy is going to be played for in Mitchell, South Dakota, as Dakota State makes the trip to Dakota Wesleyan on Saturday. Dakota State's won 7 of the last 8 in this one, including last year was a 34-3 victory, and Dakota State gets Trey Heddick back. He was the quarterback of record in the win last year, and he went down in the early portion of the season. He's back from injury. For Dakota Wesleyan, in the backfield, they get Kobe Kaiser back and Cole Holden, wide receiver. And there's been strong quarterback competition through the summer, so let's see who steps in there for the Tigers. St. Ambrose at Briar Cliff, second meeting between these two schools. St. Ambrose won 28-21 in the first meeting back in 2024. Waiting to see who comes out of the mix for quarterback there. Michael Hellwig, by the way, coming back from an injury at the wide receiver spot. So that's a bright point for St. Ambrose. For Briar Cliff, you have another dual sports star stepping in as Brock Saya is coming back at quarterback after an injury last season. And he's one of those dual sport guys, has a baseball arm as well as a football arm. Stephen Whiting has been a quality receiver for Briar Cliff. And Coach Sadeghi said he's gotten even bigger. Actually looks more like a tight end this year as opposed to just a wide receiver. So that one should be fun. Looking forward to seeing this matchup and what the Chargers do this year. Hastings at Doane, staying in the GPAC here. 97th meeting between these two in-state schools. Hastings leads 48-42 with 6 ties between the two, but Doane did win last year 40-3. Hastings has Carson Kudlicek, a junior quarterback who threw for 51.5% in his time. We'll see if he's the man of the hour for the Broncos this year. A new offensive coordinator for Hastings and James Bauer, offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. And if you know that name, he was at Kansas Wesleyan for 3 years. And before that at Southwestern, the offensive coordinator for both. So coming to the GPAC after a number of years in the KCAC, we'll see how that works and bringing a little bit of a different look there too. Wow. Okay, maybe I don't need the cough drop right now. We'll see. Doane, by the way, graduated 35 players in 2024, so it is going to be a young team this year. Sam Hartman, the sophomore quarterback, should start on Saturday, and he has Rian Green back in the backfield with him for his senior campaign at running back. First meeting between Mount Marty and Clark, an out-of-conference matchup here. And Mount Marty coming off the first ever winning season for the Lancers, another dual sports star. I talk about these dual sports stars. Rugby Riken will be back at the helm and quarterback for his junior season for the Lancers. And this is an athlete last year that at one point, played football and basketball for Mount Marty in the same day. That's a rarity, just doesn't happen very often. Rugby, Riken will be leading the way for Mount Marty. Clark last year 1-10, but it looks like that Carson Estrada, the sophomore quarterback, will be the man at the helm there for Clark this year. My source says that he's been taking the lion's share of the reps with the ones, so it is likely Carson Estrada who will be the quarterback for Clark, and we'll see how this one turns out. Mount Marty coming in, that bad taste in your mouth when you lose the last game in the closing seconds of the game. I'm sure that's something the Lancers have been thinking about all along, so they're going on the road for this one to take on Clark. Waldorf at Northwestern, just the 10th meeting between these two schools in the state of Iowa. Northwestern leads the all-time series 6-3, won 45-7 in 2024. And this opening game of the season, they're going to be honoring Coach Corver, who has the field named for him, the legendary coach at Northwestern. He's going to be honored and recognized for being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. So if you're in the area around Orange City and you are a Northwestern fan, this is definitely one you want to go to. Waldorf, there were a couple of quarterbacks who saw time last year for the Warriors. Chris Waller returns, and he is a transfer from OUAZ, so trying to get in some time there at Forest City. For Northwestern, we do know who the starting quarterback's going to be. Last year, there were a couple of freshmen that were vying for that position. They're sophomores now, and it's going to be Bo Bush, who is the who is the starter for Northwestern, the sophomore coming back from last year, and that is who Coach McCarty is naming to be the starter in week 1. But young again in the backfield, a couple of redshirt freshman running backs, Solomon T. and Eli Carpenter at the top of the 2 deep list for Northwestern also. And I think you need to mention some defense for Northwestern. How about this? Brothers Ben and Levi Egley back at starters one more season. Ben, the linebacker, Levi, the defensive end, and they do bring some hurt. These are not only, defensive stars, but these are former wrestlers, and that they're going to bring some pain out there on the field when they hit somebody. Oklahoma Panhandle at Peru State. Non-conference matchup here. 11th meeting between the two schools. Peru State leads the all-time series 7-3 and won 17-14. The last time these two teams met, which was 22 years ago. So this is the 11th meeting, but the first time in 22 years that they've met. And it's going to be the Thunder in the Oaks meeting. And this one is a cool matchup there in Peru. This is one of those times where, you're playing in the historic Oak Bowl, has a very nice view of all the oak trees all around. It's one of those stadiums with just bleachers on one side, still can hold quite a few fans coming out, but this is when all the fans are encouraged to come out and make noise. In other words, make some thunder in the Oaks, and lots of local bikers will come and be a part of this too and lead the team out on the field even with the bikes there. So it's going to be loud. It's going to be exciting in Peru State, and for Oklahoma Panhandle State, Coach Miller feels very strong about his quarterback room, has a couple of players that are both 4.0 students and strong in the classroom, strong on the field. It's going to take some of that to replace Brandon Stevens, who graduated. The 4-year starter was he wrote his name up and down the books there at Oklahoma Panhandle State. So we'll see who steps up there. For Peru State, Colin Shields, who was last year's quarterback, is no longer at Peru State. He's in Oklahoma now, but not at Oklahoma Panhandle State. He is a student assistant for Oklahoma State football. So we're going to see who steps up there for Peru State in that quarterback spot. Again, 11th meeting between the two. Non-conference matchup, Central Methodist at Missouri State. Here's an in-state matchup between an NAIA school and a D2 school. 6th meeting between the two. S&T owns a 5-0 record all time. So Central Methodist making the 2-hour trip from Fayette down to Rolla for this one and taking on a Division II program. Year 3 for Coach Dave Brown. 1-10 in year 1 in 2023, 1-10 last year as well. And it is a tough tough conference at Hart Conference and lots of challenging teams to play, wanting to step things up here. S&T, by the way, picked 6th in the GLVC preseason poll, 6th out of 9 teams there. Let's look at the KCAC now. Avila at McPherson, 7th meeting between these two. Avila leads at 4-2 all time. McPherson won in 24 and in 23, picking up both of its wins in the last 2 years and winning both of those games by 20-plus points. Coach Alexander also in year 3 at his program. For McPherson, well, Coach Fiskus has to replace Tristan Zabo and Nehemiah Figueroa. Figueroa, by the way, still playing football. He's taking his grad year down the road at Emporia State. But McPherson does have Jaleel Brown, who is the KCAC Offensive Player of the Year, running back, and receiver Traven Lewis-Johnson back. So whoever is stepping in for Tristan Zabo has some weapons at his disposal. Ottawa at Kansas Wesleyan, 82nd meeting between the two schools. Ottawa leads this one, not by much, 40-37 with 4 ties in there. Kansas Wesleyan won last year 23-20. By the way, it was a victory by Ottawa over Kansas Wesleyan that cemented the Braves' push to the playoffs back in 2023. Got to the playoffs with a 6-5 record, but did it by cruising through the then Bissell division the way it was made up then. So this is a big matchup here in week 1. Ottawa has DeAnthony Curtis coming back, Key Long coming back, Jaden Johnson coming back, all great wide receivers. We'll see who is able to get the ball to them. For Kansas Wesleyan, it's the debut for Matt Middleton as head coach, and he gets Henry Ostad in his backfield, quarterback, to lead things for him. Ostad coming from a pretty solid season with the Southeastern Fire in 2024. So he transfers halfway across the country to play for the Coyotes. Tabor at Sterling, 55th meeting between the two. Tabor leads 32-22 all time and won 25-21 last season. The Blue Jays have won 3 straight in this matchup. Tabor has a quality receiver room and has Cam Collier coming back in the backfield. He's a junior transfer from Division I North Alabama. For Sterling, Ryan Stuckey, a senior wide receiver. He is someone who's received all conference honors, and he's back for his senior year. Bethany at Friends, 76th meeting between these two schools. Bethany leads this one all time, 41-29-5, but Friends won 65-15 in 2024 and has won 8 straight in the matchup. Bethany's quarterback room, you need to listen to Coach Grossner on this one. We had a chance to visit with him this summer. Actually, it was within the last couple of weeks, and he was talking about the fact that his quarterback room has seen ups and downs over the summer. Landry Shields, though, is back. He's still on campus. He's healthy, and he may have the upper hand there, but we're still waiting to see who's going to come out and be able to sling the ball there for Bethany. For Friends, we know there's not going to be a lot of ball slinging there. They're going to hang on to the ball. It's going to be an option offense. It's going to be a ground game. Friends rushed for 5,351 yards last year in 13 games, averaging 411.6 yards per game. The Terry Harrison factor is real. And this is a potent offense for Cavante Baker. It'll be his final campaign. And if Friends, again, makes a run deep into the playoffs, you've got to give Baker some attention for the possibility of Player of the Year. Bethel at Southwestern, also in the KCAC, 70th meeting between these two schools. Southwestern leads 47-21 with 1 tie. And really, really quickly, okay, about time you showed up. We've already talked about Montana Tech. You'll have to go back and watch that one. But thanks for Henchman21 for being on with us tonight. The debut of Josh Lawson as the head coach at Bethel. And for Southwestern, I know sometimes he doesn't like to mention a lot of names, so wasn't sure we were going to find out for sure who's going to be leading the way and taking over for Braden Howell, who had a stellar career for Southwestern. And we know now it's going to be Jamie Odom who steps in, a transfer from San Diego Mesa Community College. He saw a little bit of time behind Braden Howell last year. As a matter of fact, 1 for 7 passing for just 3 yards. So he didn't get a lot of time behind Braden Howell, but he did get some. But a transfer from San Diego Mesa, which, by the way, love the mascot. They're the Olympians. So that one's just incredibly cool. I'm a big fan of the Olympics, always have been. So that's just a neat name. Jamie Odom to lead the way for the Mound Builders this year. They take on Bethel at home on Saturday. Evangel at the University of St. Mary. Second meeting all time between the two schools. Now, Evangel's been in the KCAC for 2 years. They should have played each other twice before now. This should be the third meeting. Oh, but no, last year's game was canceled due to lightning. So the only meeting between the two, Evangel won 59-42. That's right, 101 points scored in that one. Reed Potts back as the starter for Evangel, and Eric Williams, the first back for Evangel since 2005 to rush for at least 1,000 yards. He did that in 2021. So this is the matchup. Evangel, the Valor are on the road to take on the Spires. Moving to the Mid-South, and we see Campbellsville at St. Francis. Well, I guess this game's going to be taking place in the Mid-States, but Campbellsville, this is a meeting that's just the second one between these two programs. The only other meeting between the two, 48-21, and Campbellsville won that in the first round of the NAIA Football Championship Series in 2001. So 24 years since these two teams have met. We know Jagger Gillis has an opportunity to get the Tigers into the playoffs and a whole lot of offense around him for St. Francis. Really one of the big things here, it's the debut for Coach Adam Sherman. It's tough to follow the man. And Kevin Donnelly was, and I will say is, the man for NAIA football coaching. So you never want to be the man to follow the man, but when you're already in the school's Hall of Fame, and Coach Adam Sherman is already in the school's Hall of Fame, you've got a leg up on that. So this one should be interesting, could be interesting for either team. It really is a step in the right direction for the playoffs. Again, we mentioned Jagger Gillis there. For Campbellsville, the Tigers may need this one more. You know, if you win the Mid-South, if you take care of business against Georgetown and you win the Mid-South, which I picked the Tigers to do, then you don't need this game. But if you don't, you may need this game. And so this one has lots of implications early on. Cumberland at Tennessee Tech. It's another D1 NAIA matchup there. Seventh meeting between the two. Tennessee Tech leads this series all-time 5-1. They won 63-7 12 years ago, which was the last time these two teams played. And the last time and only time that Cumberland beat Tennessee Tech was a 6-0 victory in 1938. So there you go. It's been a few years since Cumberland's won in this one. Cumberland, by the way, brings back Jacob Cornejo, the Mid-South Freshman of the Year, 7.6 yards per carry, and he comes back in the backfield there. And it's an offensive line that's pretty strong, too, led by Will Sanchez. 4 starters returning on that offensive line. You have a strong running back there. This one could be good. By the way, we talked about Friends running the ball well. How about the Phoenix last year? Cumberland carried for 253.7 yards per game. That was fourth in the NAIA. And, you know, that sounds like a small number compared to the ridiculous 411 yards per game from Friends. 253.7 is nothing to sneeze at. That is a big-time number for Cumberland. And so I'd be interested to see if we see more of that this year. All right, Langston at Grambling. This one is one to go to if you were in Shreveport, to go to for the bands alone. And it's been a privilege to get to be on site at Anderson Stadium to see Langston's band a number of times. This one should be a lot of fun. Seventh meeting between the two schools. Grambling, of course, Division I. Grambling leads 5-1 all time in this series. Won 13-2 back in 2008. The last time these two teams met, and Grambling's won 3 straight. The last time and only time that Langston won was 15-14. That was back in 1996. This is the Shreveport Kickoff Classic, and it's going to be streamed by the way, on SWAC TV. Keep that in mind. Torrance Bardell, who has led the Lions in recent years in that quarterback spot, he took the grad transfer route to Kentucky State, so he's playing D2 right now. And we're looking to see who's going to take the helm for Langston. If you're a Grambling fan, you know they bring back Bryce Cage, who is a senior defensive end, and he is a stud. Texas College on the road at Culver Stockton, out-of-conference matchup, first meeting between the two schools. And Texas College, we said, had a great season last year, 7-4 overall, 6-3 in Sooner Athletic Conference play. Picked fourth in the conference in the preseason coaches poll this year. Culver Stockton, though, brings back Caden Thomas, who is a sophomore. The linebacker was the Hart North freshman of the year coming in, so this one could be interesting to see. I think this one could be a defensive battle, and I'm looking to see if the Wildcats are able to take care of business at home. In-state matchup here is Louisiana Christian takes on McNeese State, another NAIA Division I matchup, 20th meeting between the two schools. McNeese leads it 17-2 all-time, won 31-0 the last time these two teams met, which was 1966, and McNeese State has won 12 straight in this matchup. I know. The research on this one was a little bit interesting. Louisiana Christian last defeated McNeese State 28-0 71 years ago in 1954. So there you go. It's 100 miles from Pineville, where Louisiana Christian is, to Lake Charles, home of McNeese State. Year two for Ben McLaughlin, who has stepped in for Coach Drew Maddox. By the way, Coach Maddox has resurfaced as the head coach of the John Melvin Christian College program in Pensacola. And I know Coach Maddox was in Southeast Missouri State there for a season, but he's back as the head coach now. For Coach McLaughlin, it was a drop-off win-wise for the Wildcats. Win-wise for the Wildcats. You've got to throw some alliteration in there somewhere. 9 wins down to 4, but it's a different group that was there in 2024 from what was there in 2023. So I think we'll see a little bit more of Coach McLaughlin's team this year. Southeastern at Fort Lauderdale, fourth meeting between the two. Southeastern technically leads 3-0 in this. Won 37-0 on the field last year. There have been 2 forfeits prior to that. Southeastern on the road there at Fort Lauderdale, looking to see what Coach Waugh does here, and this could be an opportunity to break in some new players there. It's a favorable matchup for the Fire. And finally, Weber International at Stetson, another NAIA Division I matchup, third meeting between the two, and the Hatters have won. I have a lot of alliteration in this last segment. The Hatters have won 38-28 2 years ago, won 42-13 back in 2015. Weber International is picked fifth in the Sun Conference and went 5-5 in 2024. Coach Potocny is heading into his fourth year as the head coach, and I feel like he has the program going the right direction. He was the interim head coach prior to that. He's 14-16 in the last 3 years there, and this is a conference that's had St. Thomas, that's had Southeastern, that's had Kaiser, and those have been challenging games for Weber International along the way. So that doesn't even include the out-of-conference matchups, including this one, which is against a Division I program. Stetson, by the way, is picked 11th out of 11 teams in the Pioneer Football League. And this is also one of those situations where if you're looking at it and you follow NAIA football and you're thinking, Stetson, I know about the Hatters. I'm familiar with Stetson, but I've thought about that name recently, and you may have, because it is a former NAIA head coach that is now the head coach for Stetson, formerly at Bethel in Tennessee. Mike Jasper, the Bethel Wildcats head coach and former Bethel Wildcat player as well. And he brought another Bethel coach with him. Dustin Kincaid is with him as well at Stetson. So this one could be interesting. For Coach Jasper, he has Division I players at his disposal. But Weber International, I think, is going to come in strong in this one. Now, I'm not picking a win, but I'm saying this one could be interesting for the Hatters, so keep that one in mind. I think Coach Potocny has his team ready to play on that one. And you know what, folks? We have looked at 42 games tonight in an hour, roughly in 10 minutes, something like that. We talked about some polls along the way, and we knew that Grandview was going to be at the top of the coaches poll, and we knew that Grandview was going to be at the top of the media poll. So really no surprise there. This one should be a lot of fun. I'm so excited about all of this, and I'm sure that you all are. I know that Henchman 21 is excited about the Montana Tech game, and I know that Dave and Jeff, who are on here, they're excited about the Morningside Benedictine game. And I know, Jordan, you were on here too. You're excited about the Lindsey Wilson University game. I said it right. And Roger, I know you have to be thrilled about the monumental matchup there in Indianapolis. So I need to go back and slow down. And I know we're going to have this many games as more on Thursday nights. This show will go back to Thursday night. No, it'll be on Tuesday night again next week, because we're going to be having another Midwest Sports Saturday on a Thursday. So 2 weeks from tonight, 2 weeks from now, see, I'm just so fast tonight. 2 weeks from now, this will be back on Thursday night. So keep that in mind. It's going to be a Tuesday night show again next week, because we will be on site on a Thursday night, and actually on site on a Saturday morning too, with Midwest Sports Saturday for both of those shows. But I encourage you to just enjoy this week. College football is back on the NAIA level, and I'm totally here for it. It was nice to get some week 0 stuff with Division I last week, but we're all in week 1 now, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So go out, support your teams, and from the Midwest Sports Net perspective, let me again broadcast note, we'll be live 5:30 Central Time from Olathe, Kansas, on the, not necessarily on the campus of the Pioneers, but we'll be on site for the Mid-American Nazarene Nelson game. That's going to start at 7:30. Our coverage of Midwest Sports Saturday on a Thursday will be at 5:30, and we'll get a chance to visit with the athletic director from Mid-American Nazarene and more. So we'll talk football and go from there. So that should be, hopefully, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it to be a lot of fun. And then Saturday, we're going to be watching a lot of NAIA football. There's so much more of it streaming, so keep that in mind. Thank you all for watching tonight. You guys are awesome. If you've watched it all the way through and you're part of the live show tonight, thank you so much for being a part of it. If you have watched the rewind of this video on demand and you're here to the end, you're a trooper, and I'm so thankful for you doing that. If you have not already, please subscribe to the channel Midwest Sports Net. Again, we're almost to our goal for the month of August, but we have a big, monumental, sorry, Roger, to borrow that word from the matchup, we have a big goal for this calendar year for subscribers to build the channel and just build our community. And you get to be a part of it too. So if you haven't already, tell a friend. Let them know about Midwest Sports Net. Let them know that we're going to talk about your favorite team. Some of them more than others. I know it just works out that way. But we're going to talk about your favorite team here on the channel, and we'll talk a lot of football. So for Mrs. Midwest Sports Net, who may or may not be watching, but she lets me come down to the studio and talk to you each night. And for all the little Midwest Sports Nets, 2 of them still live in the house, and they're back getting ready for more college stuff. They're in college now. I guess they're not so little anymore. I'm Joey McWilliams. Thank you very much for watching tonight. So much NAIA football in week 1. It's ahead. It's going to be a lot of fun. So be along for the ride. I'm going to be there with you. I encourage you, be there with me. Dave, thank you so much for watching tonight. Here we go. Morningside at Benedictine. That is on Saturday afternoon. And then Henchman. All right, Saturday's games, Stangs and the Rams. Henchman 21 is taking the Stangs and the Rams. And good luck to Midwest Sports Net and a Thursday broadcast there. Have a good one, everyone. Let's go Diggers. We'll close out with that one. Copper game should be a lot of fun. We'll follow along, and we'll try to give you some updates Thursday night from Olathe. Be looking for some video there as well. God bless you all. You guys have a great night. Thank you for being here and for being such a great community. You all are awesome.